of the Budget Committee due to the COVID-19 the virus crisis in accordance with the Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to the Executive Order 2020-04. This board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen to the meeting, which was authorized to the Governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing a public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video and other electronic means. We utilize Google Meet's platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate during the meeting through the Google Meets platform, and the public has access to listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following phone number: 601-516-5598, and password is 441-421-154 #, or by clicking the following website: meet.google.com/mxv-fmax-cyo. I can't read my own writing. Providing public notice of necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Google Meets, and instructions are provided on the website at rollinsford.nh.us. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there is any problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 534-1049 or email at admin@rollinsford.nh.us. The meeting, if the public is unable to access the meeting, in the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes are taken during this meeting shall be done by a roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting. This is required under the Right to Know law. The end. Go ahead, John. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And, John, can someone do the roll call, because I don't have the list of names. John? Let me see if I can get the list of names. I'm gone.
This is John here. Can you guys hear me now?
I can. Can you do the roll call? Because I didn't print out a thing with the roll call.
Yeah, that's no problem. Bear with me a second. I have it here. Okay, I had to dial in because I keep fading in and out on my computer. So we have Suzanne Heward. Are you here?
I am here, and I am alone.
Denise Knowles.
I am here, and my husband's in the room.
Angela Matthews.
I am here, and I am alone.
Emily Leach. Can anybody hear Emily?
Nope. Hold on.
Sorry, that's because I was muted. I'm here. My family's around the corner. They can hear me, but you guys are on headphones.
Okay. Paul Katz has resigned. Lynn Spring.
I'm here and I'm alone.
Charlie George.
I'm here and I'm alone.
Joe Desch.
Here and I'm alone.
Michelle Small. Is Michelle on? Haven't heard her yet. We'll take that as a no.
I don't see her. Yeah.
Peter Lampesis. Is Peter on?
I don't see him either.
Robert Meehan?
I'm standing in for Bob. Vern Crozier. I'm alone. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. And I am John Ordway, and I am alone.
Okay, so now I am going to request nominations for the chair position.
Suzanne, this is Suzanne Heward speaking. I would be honored to nominate John Ordway to continue as chair.
All right.
I
we have a-
second.
And who is that?
This is Charlie George. I'd like to second that nomination.
Okay, so we have a nomination. Any other further nominations? Hearing none, by roll call vote, we need to vote. We have John as chairperson. Suzanne?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. Angela?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Vern?
Abstain.
Okay. It's been, John is now the chair, and I'm backing away, John, and it's all yours.
Can't hear you, John. Nope, still can't hear you. Dial *6 on your phone if you're using your phone. That will unmute you. Say something.
Okay,
There you go.
the problem is that I'm not coming through on my phone. So I'm going to try the computer.
Okay, we see ya. Also, we should know that Brianna Lewis is also in attendance as the record taker, correct?
Correct.
I see her there. Okay, very good. For the minute. Okay, John, it's yours.
Okay, thanks very much. So the next item on the agenda is to nominate a vice chair for the committee. Do I have a nomination?
I nominate Suzanne. This is Charlie George.
I'll second that nomination. This is Denise.
Any discussion? Any other nominations? Okay, bear with me a second for the roll call vote here. Any discussion? Okay, do we vote for ourselves? Suzanne?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Denise?
Yes,
Angela?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Paul's not here. Lynn Spring?
Yes.
Charlie George?
Yes.
Joe Desch?
Yes.
And Michelle and Peter are still not on. Bob is not here. I vote yes. Vern, do you vote?
Abstain.
Okay, looks like you have the privilege of being vice chair once again. Suzanne.
Thank you.
The next item we have on the agenda is replacement of Paul Cass's seat on the Budget Committee. As probably everybody knows, Paul was elected a select board member and is no longer able to be on the Budget Committee at the same time, so he's resigned. And what we did last year, and we can whatever the committee wants to do, whatever the preference is, but what we did last year was we asked for people who are interested to indicate their interest, and then we, as a board, as a committee, selected a replacement member. We can follow that same process, or we can follow another process. How does the committee feel about that? Any discussion
This is Suzanne. I think the process worked very well last year. So I'm completely in favor of repeating it this year.
This is Denise, I agree.
Do you think we need to have a motion and vote on that?
Probably just because of that we can't see each other. So we could be shaking our heads yes, and we can't really see. So
Yeah.
it's probably best. So I'll make a motion. I move that we advertise for a replacement for Paul on the budget committee using the same process that we did last year. However you want.
I will second that motion. This is Angela.
Okay. Second by Angela. And let me just get my little voting thing in here. Okay, so we have a motion that's seconded. Is any discussion on the process? Does anybody want to chime in before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. So a yes means that we will follow the process we followed last year, and that is that we'll advertise for the opening. And when candidates come forward, we will review their letters of interest and make a selection. So that since it was put forward by Suzanne, I'm assuming that's a yes.
Yes. Correct.
Denise?
Yes,
Angela,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Charlie, George,
Yes.
Joe?
I think we lost him.
I will go with a yes. That I think is a quorum. Just a sec. Problem with all these technology is you get calls on multiple platforms. So did Joe come back or is he gone?
He shows on the list.
Can't hear you, Joe.
I would suggest that, Joe, that you call back, that you use the phone number to call into the meeting. You can keep your computer connected and turn off your speakers and mute your phone and participate by phone. John, I don't know if you could just read the phone number again for Joe.
Sure. The phone number to call in is 601-516-5598. And the PIN or password is 441-421-154, and then a hashtag or pound sign.
Joe, if you didn't get that, or if you want more help, you can email me and I'll get in touch with you that way.
Let me ask, do you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, so I just dropped off and came back on.
okay.
Although I don't see any presentation from you, John. Does everybody else blanked out?
It says I'm presenting.
No, I see the presentation.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yes,
don't
I
worry
see it.
about it. I have everything up on my PC, so I can work through that.
So we were looking for your vote on having the appointment of the new person the same way we did it last year. So
And that's a yes.
okay.
Okay. And Vern, do you have a vote? I can't hear Vern. Can anybody else?
No.
No.
Okay, you can hear me now, right?
You
Yes.
got it.
Abstain. And now I turn off my mic.
Okay, thank you.
John, this is Angela. I wondered 2 votes ago, which I can't go up to, but you did not ask Commissioner Crozier for his vote. And I wondered if you can backtrack to that about nomination of John Ordway. One of those was not included as a vote.
Yeah, he abstained on both.
No, he abstained.
And
He
he just didn't
abstained.
mark it. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there you
I
go. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Believe it or not, it's not easy to do this and take notes at the same time.
You're doing a great job.
Okay, so I wanted to just on that letter of interest, we had last year asked 2 questions, why are you interested in joining and what skills or experience? And I would add perspective. Can you add? I'm not sure. That to me almost sounds a little bit presumptuous now that I look back at it, or a little maybe just express your interest. Is that, what does the rest of the committee feel?
This is Angela. I don't think it was presumptuous at all to ask me for my skills and what I felt I might bring. No matter what those were, we all bring different perspectives. Maybe it's somebody who lived in the community a long time and has watched town meetings and so forth. I think it's a reasonable question to ask. Not at all I didn't find it presumptuous.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments on that?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, I just wanted to run that by. The next item on the agenda is the draft 2021 meeting schedule, and I'll pull that up. I believe I sent that around to the committee earlier. It is largely based on the one that we did last year. I shifted a few things around, or some things got shifted around last year over the course of the year, and I shifted them back. Basically lays out our quarterly meetings and then the budget presentation meetings, pretty much following the same general schedule as last year. The issue we ran into last time was I think we had put the Rollinsford Water and Sewer District on earlier than they were ready. And so it would be really nice to, talk about that up front and sort of come to a conclusion. Same with the school district. Come to an agreement of what would be a good date for that presentation, so that we can, maintain a schedule. So this is proposed, and Vern, as the representative of the Water and Sewer District, if you wouldn't mind, I don't know if you got a copy of this, but I'm happy to resend it if you did not. And if you could sort of among the commissioners discuss the date for the presentation and come back with either agree to it or recommend, suggest a different date, that would be helpful.
You mean sometime in the future, not tonight?
Yeah, you don't have to tonight. I just wanted to put that out there. Basically, this is a draft. If anybody has comments already from what was circulated, I'm happy to take them. But we don't need to have this finalized, and it won't be finalized until we have a chance to interface with both the Water and Sewer District and with the school district. I think also I think we're somewhat constrained on the SB2 meetings. Those are selected by the town. So again, those 2 meetings would be, I've put the dates in that are consistent with the guide or the requirements. It's a Saturday to Saturday window of time. Last year we picked a Saturday and a Tuesday so that we would have time for a snow date and not fall outside of the Saturday to Saturday window. But we also had some input from the New Hampshire Municipal Association attorney that said basically if you're doing a snow date, it does not matter if it's not a problem if you go outside the 10-day window. So I think doing SB2 sessions on Saturdays works better than having one on a Saturday and one on a Tuesday like we did last time. But I'm willing to take well, this is really up to the town to decide. But I just putting it out there for future. It would be nice to get this nailed down at some point so that we can put the schedule out for the public and have a consistent schedule they can look at and respond to.
This is Suzanne. So John, do you think we can request that by our next meeting that we hear from the constituent bodies that they are fine with the schedule? Because I think what happened last year is we said it, and then I think, as you said, it wasn't until the fall when we realized that there were some problems with either the school district or the water district or whatever. So I think it would be a good idea to say maybe by the next meeting and we put it on the agenda so that we get their buy-in for this schedule. At least the presentations to the budget committee. The deliberative sessions, they're not ours to schedule, but
Right.
the presentations are.
Agreed. So
That's fine with me. I can make sure we have that for the school district at least.
okay. Vern, is that something that you can bring back to the commissioners to look at and hopefully come back next meeting with a date? It doesn't have to be this date that I've put up here. I just put something as a placeholder, and we can work from there. But obviously, having it within one of our existing meetings is key.
I think you're thinking of like July 22nd tentatively.
No, for
To
budget.
bring back information about when we would schedule our, the.
Oh,
water-
oh, yeah, yes. Yep.
Okay.
July 22nd, which would be our next meeting if everybody's okay with the schedule. So let's at a minimum, we'll say that the next meeting will be July 22nd. And for right now, we'll assume that it's going to be virtual. If things open up and we are able to meet in person, we'll let everybody know in advance. But the next meeting will be the 22nd. And if the members of the committee could take this and take a look at it, and next meeting be ready to discuss it, this will be on the agenda, and we can make some adjustments at that time.
John, I didn't get this. Could you go ahead and send that to me so I can review it with and look at the town's obligations?
Yeah, I was gonna I haven't seen that at all, John. I was looking through my email, so if you can resend it to me also, please.
Yeah. Ditto here, John. I
You know,
Sounds like it can go out.
I may have sent it just to the select board and to I may have been a smaller group.
Okay.
So I will resend it to the entire budget committee. I apologize.
Thank you.
Are you getting that the notes on that, Bree? Bree, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm getting them.
Great. Right. Any other thoughts or discussion on the proposed schedule at this time? Okay,
Nope, all
hearing
good.
none. All right. The next item then will be the first quarter town budget review. Bear with me, I have a copy of that I can bring up. What I would suggest is any question. Well, first of all, it would be nice if Denise, if you have any comments to make, just to give a general overview. But I think if we go through page by page, and if anybody has a specific comment, it'll be important to identify the line number that you have a question for. So let me bear with me while I bring it up. Operating budget. And let's see if I can zoom that in a little bit. Can everybody see the operating budget okay?
Yep.
I have it on my computer.
Okay, great.
It's much easier to read, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're in pretty decent shape considering what's been happening, with, the COVID, and things that we've had to buy that wasn't expected. But we really believe that we're in good shape right now. We are going to have, some revenue for the CARES Act, that is going to help us to purchase the things that, we have to, purchase to keep our, emergency response group safe, as well as our town hall. We're approximately going to get about $60,849.
Excuse me, is that 60?
60849 is what it's based on the town. I believe it's on the town population. And this was on a letter that we got from the state. We're at this point, this is available for reimbursements on stuff that we still have to get, and that have gotten already, based on COVID. So that will certainly help us. And also it's for overtime and I don't know, I'm trying to think what other things it would be, but it's something that, there's a list of it also, and I can, also send you, they sent us what the emergency relief recovery, what stuff is qualified, for, some of the, the things that you can purchase to help you get through this. One of the things that we need to make sure we understand is that police, fire, and emergency costs first has to go to FEMA. And then once FEMA, they match 25% match on the FEMA eligibility cost. But once, if there's stuff that they don't, my understanding is stuff that they don't, FEMA won't cover, then you can go to the state towards the 60,000. So that's going to help us. I mean, we're anticipating some large welfare situations coming forward to us. So far, not yet, but if this keeps on going longer, we are going to probably see our welfare budget go up quite high. I think we have our budget pretty good and under control, and I will take questions, and if I don't have the answers currently, I will get back to you on it. But let's start with just page one. Is anybody?
Denise, this is Suzanne. Can I ask a large question?
Sure.
And it's really about the revenues. So
yeah,
because I mean, clearly the tax rate is going to be based on what offsetting revenues we have, and
yes.
And do you have an idea whether this $60,000 is going to cover, like, what? I'm sure the room and meals tax is going to be practically zero, and our vehicle registration is down according to the town clerk. So do you have any just overall sense of what the revenue picture looks like right now and what it might look like?
Well, I don't have a dollar amount, but I do know that we are going to probably be down on our revenue based on our vehicle registrations over 20,000 this year.
Right.
That's because people are not buying new cars at this point in time, and also reduction in some of the buses that were registered before possibly will be delayed. So we're anticipating over $20,000 at least on registrations. And you're right, the meals tax, and because of restaurants and we'll be losing that as well. I have no idea what that number is right now. So our revenues are going to be shorted for sure. The CARES Act will help us, but it's not going to be, it's not going to do it all, as
Right.
I predict. So as soon as we have, we are shorthanded and off-site working, and so we didn't get the revenue page done for you, but as soon as we do, I will forward it to you.
Thank you.
But again, there's still going to be some uncertainties on that, just because we won't know until this is over where we're going to stand. But that's, I think one of the biggest ones is our registrations, vehicle registrations. It's going to be the biggest hit for us. So,
Thanks, Denise. I think Vern had a question.
yes, Vern?
Yes. Unanticipated revenues. There was a law about you have to declare it. Is this exempt, or are you going to have to go through the process of accepting it formally, which requires public notice, public hearing, and all that? Or is this one of those things where you don't have to?
Is this the revenue for the CARES Act?
Whatever that $60,000 was.
This is an amount that has been allocated to Rollins for reimbursement of expenses. It's not,
Okay, then
so
it's
you're gonna
still
submit your- Excuse me?
you might want to get a clarification whether it's unanticipated income or it's exempt under one of the emergency orders or executive orders. You just don't want to get caught in that situation like some people were in the past.
Well, this is, I have the Relief Act here in my hand right now.
Yeah.
Authorize the allocation and expenditure of $40 million total.
Yes.
2 million. And so this is an act of what there's, it's just not something that you can just be handed. My understanding is it's not just something that there's certain things that can be paid with this money, and we have to send our information to them, and then they will reimburse us, is my understanding.
I think just checking it out wouldn't hurt.
I'm not denying that at all. I'm sure we will make sure that we know exactly what we're doing. But at this point, we haven't done anything with it. We just got notification. So
Okay.
we will.
Word to the wise, having gone through the experience.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. Any other specific comments before we walk through the operating budget and expenditures? Okay, so we'll start with pay. Well, why don't we do it by section? Executive office. Are there any questions on executive office?
Denise, I had questions about places where I saw overspending that was more than, say, 25%, except for stuff that's paid that seems to be paid on a cyclical basis at the start of a year. So, for example, line 13, page 1, copying and printing was 67% spent. So I wondered about that and whether that was COVID related or whether I misunderstood what I read there. It's line 13.
I know, I see it. Yeah.
And it just, for something like purchases, I'm assuming that for supplies, you're purchasing on a cycle that works because of the timing and the costs. But that copying and printing struck me as high, and I just wondered if it was related to COVID or what that was about.
I don't have the answer to that, but I will get that for you. I think some of it might be. It also might be that it had to do with the tax bills and sending the newsletters in there, and then so let me find out what that is. But also, if I can say before anybody speaks, if you could state your name for the record for your minute taker,
Yes.
they know who's speaking.
This is Angela, Brianna.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Thank you.
So Angela, I will definitely find out pretty much if it had anything to do with COVID or if it was just has to do with the mailings of the newsletters and such. Okay, I will get back to you on that.
Thank you. And that correlates to line 16, postage 39% spent. That didn't seem as extreme as the 67, but it's sort of in the same camp, I think.
Well, I also think that I believe before postage was going to go up, or at the beginning of the year, they bought a lot of postage stamps already. Although I don't believe the first class postage went up, but I know that they bought a lot at the beginning of the year.
Thank you.
I will verify that as well, Angela.
Thank you.
Everyone. Okay. Anybody else on executive? I don't hear anything. Can we go down to, excuse me?
No. Okay, so we'll move to elections and registrations.
Yeah. Any questions on that?
Hearing none.
All right.
Financial administration. And if you want, Denise, you can walk through this. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off.
Okay, that's okay. No, that's fine. So we also are going to have 2 more elections. So we did have an election meeting last night to kind of talk about what we're going to do with Kate. Just to prepare you, she is looking at possibly, she's going to get some information. They believe that they do need another ballot box, voting box, but nothing has been decided upon that. So we just looking about how we're going to be able to do it safely. So we may see some overruns in the election side of it just because of the 2 elections that are coming up that are going to be big elections.
Denise, this is Suzanne.
Yes.
Would some of this money that is being set aside for reimbursing expenses, would a second ballot with another ballot box be one of those acceptable expenses, do you think?
That is my understanding. Yes. Yes. Elections was part of it that you could have, because we're also talking about, things to distance people so they know how much 6 feet is, I think we're going to have to meet a couple more times just to make sure we all are on the same page. But I believe that these expenses will be part of being able to get reimbursed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so financial section. The audit is 62%, but I think there's only 1 payment here. It looks like there might be another payment, but the audit is over. So I'll find out if that last payment is there. I think there might be another one due in, but the evaluation looks in order. Personal administration. Let's see. Workman's compensation.
This is Suzanne.
Yeah.
I have a question about the health insurance line, which is line 54.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Is I know we set up the budget based on what we think people are going to be taking, 1 person versus 2 person versus family, et cetera. Are things coming as we expect? I mean, it is somewhat over the quarter mark. So I was just curious whether we know that the profile of our policy is such, of our policy takers is such that we may run over budget on this one.
I think we're going to be okay. We did have a resignation of a full-time employee who had benefits, and we don't believe that there will be someone hired within this session. So I think we're going to be okay in there.
Okay.
But again, those things can change based on,
Right.
circumstances. So, but we're keeping an eye on it for sure. Now, the workman's compensation is 93%, but I believe that's a one-time payment. I will check on that.
This is Suzanne, and yes, I believe it is too.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we're still pretty good shape there. Planning and zoning. Any questions on that?
This is Charlie George. Could you just enlighten me on what that reimbursable expense, reimbursable services, line 70 is all about?
Yes. I'm going to ask the assistant of Suzanne. Suzanne, I know that it's expenses that we pay that's going to be reimbursed.
Yes, we had a line up in the executive, which is still there. Now also a lot of what is in planning and zoning is reimbursed by the folks who are coming to the planning and zoning to ask for something. So, but that usually is advertising. So maybe it's just the mailing, the notifications. It is, I believe it's stuff like that, that are, the people who are petitioning the planning board or coming to the planning board are going to assume the payment of.
Yeah. Charlie, I'll get a better, more clear answer and email you as well as the entire.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
reasonable. I just, I never paid any attention to it before.
Yep, not a problem. We'll make
Yep.
sure that happens. So then there's advertising, and so also it's 25% on the planning and zoning, so they're in good shape there as well. Government buildings, the heat is, some of the heat lines are a little high, but we're getting through going to the warmer weather, hopefully, and so most of our heat months are gone. So I think we're going to be okay. We thought okay on the heating lines.
Denise, this is Suzanne. So I'm curious about LED lighting. I seem to recall that the board put LED lighting in one or more buildings. So
Yes.
can you remind us which buildings and whether we are enjoying savings in those buildings?
Okay, so the LED is in the fire station and the town garage. Next is going to be to the town hall. They have put in 2 samples in the town hall conference room. Some people were afraid that some of the LED might be too bright, so there's 2 types that they can put in, and we're getting opinions from the people who work in the room. So we're on target to have the town hall done. I'm not 100% sure when. I don't think we have a date yet, but they are working on getting it going for the town hall and police station.
So this is Suzanne again. So if I look at line 89, that's the fire station, which I think is one of the buildings you mentioned.
Yeah.
So the budget is 30. Oh no, the budget is down. Never mind. I was looking at the default budget. So we did lower the budget by quite a bit. And I see that we've got it 40% spent, but it's 40% of a much lower budget. So we are using less electricity.
Yep.
So I've answered my own question. Thank you.
There you go. That's great. Thank you. I think it will be good to get a year under our belts with both the highway and the fire department. We also have had some issues at the fire station. Just to kind of guys give you a heads up. We had some, the doors that are the ones that are motorized to go up to have the trucks come out. They lost, I think it was 2 of their motors, and they were over 20 years old. Yeah, 20 years old. So they weren't running efficiently either. So I think by having those changed, that's going to help us out as well, because it was affecting the circuit panel. So we have that issue with the fire station. We also have an issue with their heating system. So we have changed all of the heating system to propane. We have changed our provider, and we believe we're going to be okay. We are going to very soon decide what furnace that we're going to have to put in there, and get going on that as well this year. It's an unexpected expense, unfortunately, but.
So Denise, this is Suzanne again. So when I look at line 93, which is repairs and maintenance to the fire station, so that is practically expended. And so what you're saying is that has gone into the motors for the automatic doors and the heating system. Is that?
That is definitely the motors for the doors, and I'm not 100% sure if they've done the circuit panel, but they had to do some other electrical work for the furnace part of it. So it's a combination of a lot of things, and we need to way to make sure that we have preventive maintenance in our buildings.
Correct.
That
For sure.
Definitely a goal of the boards, and Caroline is on board with us as well there. I'm just giving you a heads up that we are definitely going to have overages on the repairs and maintenance for the fire station, because there was just a domino effect this spring, this late winter, of the things that are happening there. And again, they're all old. So we will save money on fuel, but I don't think it's going to cover what we have to spend on a new furnace.
So Denise, Suzanne again, so what is yet to be spent or fixed is the actual furnace itself. You haven't actually.
That is correct. We've had the new, they had to do some of our piping to make sure that it was correctly piped correctly for the fuel to come into the building. We had Pegonias do that, and that is all taken care of. That is done. And also we have now have Pegania is our provider, and they have installed their tanks. And my understanding is that the other tanks are gone. And so now it's really about getting the furnace, with the furnace and getting it installed. There are a few things also that they have found in the fire station, but I don't have any details of 100% of what that is. But once everything is all said and done and we hear the whole project, we would definitely make sure that you guys know what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay. So government buildings is, we're still in good shape. So that will, sorry about that.
Hey, Denise.
That's going to change. So,
Denise, this is Emily. I was wondering about the repairs and maintenance to the transfer station. I see that they're building that roof over the recycling stuff.
Yeah.
And I see that this is 57% right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that is in part of that line item. Is that something that was planned for this budget? I don't remember, and I totally could just be my memory. I don't remember talking about that as part of the budget.
I don't think it was part of the budget, or at least not all of it was part of the budget, but it seems that with the rules and stuff of recycling, you have to make sure that your product that you're going to be sending away to recycle is clean. Mm-hmm. So what we could do is have something undercover. The labor on our staff. Nobody's building it but our own staff. So they are doing all of the labor, and it was just the supplies.
Okay.
This is Suzanne. I am familiar. I felt familiar about this. So I think it came up though as part of the CIP discussion, perhaps, because our highway department was asking for some kind of like Quonset hut building or something to cover it. And so it was on the CIP for a while, and then it was taken away because they said, you know what, we can build something on our own. So I don't know whether that discussion made it to the budget committee presentation of the highway department, but the concept is familiar to me about that they were going to be doing this themselves.
Yeah, and I think probably they just were on the assumption that they would be able to do it materials alone under their own budget process. So I think that is where we went with it, and we agreed to go ahead and go with that.
All right, this is Emily again. Thank you for that explanation. I'm a little concerned with the design of it because it looks as though all the snow is going to roll off right to where people are dumping their stuff, and that we could end up with a big ice sheet right there. So I don't know. I just worry about the planning that went into it.
I will discuss it with George. Okay, so I go every Saturday. Can't say I'm really looking at, but isn't the because it's a metal roof on top of it. So isn't it going to go down before you go up and over the hill and not where you're going to be dumping?
It looks like, I mean, it's not a shed so it looks like it could cause a problem. I don't know.
All right,
I
I'll
could be
talk to
totally wrong. It just, when I saw it, I was like, that I'm not sure about.
I will talk to them about that.
Thanks.
Find out what the plan is. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on government buildings? Cemeteries, we're all pretty good. Property and liability insurance, my understanding is that I believe is just a one-time payment. Regional associations, I know that was a one-time, so 2328. I'm not sure what else is available, but that's why that was a one payment. Goes to police department. Anybody got any concerns on the PD?
Well, this is Suzanne, Denise. This is
Yeah.
not, it's a comment. It's not a concern. It's actually what might be some good news. I mean, I'm looking at line 114, contracted services.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks like we're putting in at least at a pace to outpace what we had planned for contracted services. So that's helpful on the revenue side.
Right.
Just a reminder to us that to the extent that we actually put in more in contracted services, it will help the revenue picture.
Exactly. Yep.
And I do have just a comment on the equipment line on 127. I mean,
Okay.
those are, I don't know whether there's anything to say or just one of those things, but it is a little bit high as far as expenditures. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the things that he's come in for. Let me just kind of get some detail on the equipment, okay?
Well, if you'd like, I mean, I'm just kind of pointing it out. We'll see what it looks like next quarter.
Yep. Okay. And I mean, they're still in pretty decent shape. Because dispatch, I believe, is a one-time payment. And and we are going to be down an officer, so that's going to help also to a little extra there in case we get into trouble. Does anybody else have any questions on PD? Okay, so we'll go to fire department. I think they look their budget looks like in good shape, but none of this contains the furnace heating issue. So, any questions? No? Okay. All right, I'll move to building inspector. Again, that's mostly just the salary for our building inspector. Highway and streets. Any questions there? Again, I think we're in good shape.
Denise, this is Suzanne. So, so I'm looking at road maintenance and resurfacing, line 197. I mean, obviously we don't have any expenditures yet, but I'm just curious whether the board has talked about maybe, trying to curtail expenditures. I mean, I don't know if you're at that point, but and if you are, is this one of the lines that you're looking at? Are you anticipating?
It is. We are, at the moment, we are finishing Sligo Road. That is one of the things. We are holding off doing woodlands until we have a better idea of what is happening here in the town. We talked, it's always cheaper to have both projects done at the same time, but decided that because of the uncertainty of what's happening, that we felt that Sligo needed to be finished. I believe they're starting this week or have already started. And wait and see, and then if we have to bring them back to do woodlands, if we don't end up being as we thought, it's about $5,000 more, and that's basically bringing the equipment back and forth you know,
Okay,
twice.
thank you.
So we are deferring that one project right now.
Hey,
Denise,
Denise,
this is
Joe.
Angela. I
was going to say on the Woodlands. I mean, I live in the area. That's not really where my question's coming from. But I know when I was talking to him when he first did that, I thought he had told me that the base that they put down is good for about 2 years and then they start losing it. So I'm sure he's aware of that, but that was something that he had brought up, that he had mentioned to me when I was talking to him about it a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, of the two, that was the one that we thought we could wait a little longer on, just because it had been done within the last year and a half, and to get Sligo finished, because some of the area on Sligo is really bad. So I hope that we can finish it this year, in the fall, if we find that we're not in as bad shape as we were expecting. But it was one of the things that we could have the money in, and not affect departments, so to say. So, but we will definitely have more update for our next meeting.
Denise, I had a question about line 195, salt.
Yep.
It looks like that's going to have a positive impact on the budget. Are we now through payments for salt for the year?
Well, we are for now. We're not going
Oh, in the fall, you'll start again.
Probably November and December. So
Yep, this budget doesn't come to an end till December.
right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
Can I make a point? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
So with the road resurfacing, that concerns me that that we don't have a professional looking at we're getting road surface and longevity information from a contractor and our road agent who's not an engineer. And I'm concerned that what Joe's bringing up is that if we're going longer than we should be, and potentially losing an investment that we made, I think we should know that. And it's not a budget committee issue, but from an engineering perspective, I think it would be wise to get an engineering opinion on some of this road surfacing, because we spent a lot of money doing the Woodlands and we don't want to have to redo some of that. And so, if we lost, I mean, it's too late now, we're going to do Sligo Road, but it'd be better not to lose money that we've already put in and go a little longer on something that's not working so great. I guess that's a point I'd like to make.
Well, the budget was for both.
Understood.
So I'm hoping that we can still do the other one, but it might cost us a few bucks more to do it at the end of the year versus doing it now. That's our point. I mean, to do two projects, we needed to have somewhere where we could have some flexibility, and that was the line. But it doesn't, I mean, we're going to be for it if we get to the middle to the, third quarter and be able to, find the money there. Absolutely. And if not, it's the first project to do it in the spring.
But just from a budget, isn't that what the fund balance is meant for? That the use of the fund balance to finish the project, even if the revenues are down, could save us money because we don't have to delay it and spend more, spend the $5,000 to bring them back?
I don't believe we have the right to use the fund balance now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that be a warrant or something, right? I mean, or I don't think we.
But even when we were going through the closing budget for 2019, we talked about the fund balance, but then we also talked about the allocated budget that the tax rate was on, and plus the actual expenditures was significantly lower. And and I took away the reason for that is it gives the flexibility to the select board to handle these kinds of things. So outside of the fund balance, don't we even have a surplus from the 2019 budget that was allocated, taxed, but not spent?
Well, that goes to the fund balance.
Correct.
Joe,
All of it?
Joe, this is Suzanne. So the town cannot spend, from an expenditure point of view, more than it has been authorized in its budget. So, which is what we're looking at, the expense budget. The fund balance that the town has, it provides flexibility to the board at tax rate time,
Mhm.
in the sense that if the tax rate is coming in like, I mean, this is going to be an interesting year. Who knows what it's going to look like? So, but just in general, if things look like they're going to take a sharp turn upward or even downward, you can sort of use the fund balance to kind of help even it out a bit.
Yep.
And you have to be careful because you want to leave a healthy enough fund balance amount in order to deal with unexpected things that might happen during the course of the year. And when those things happen, however, you have to make a special request to use that fund balance.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I've muddied the waters, but
No, that's what I understood also. I didn't, and I knew there was some restriction on the fund balance availability. And I thought our percentage in general for the fund balance versus the budget was above the recommended amount that the state says you should have. And I'm just saying that if there's the money there and we can get used to it and we can get access to it, and it saves us money down the road because we're able to John's point, fix a road or finish fixing a road before it deteriorates and we lost that investment, versus waiting a couple months and seeing how the actual revenues for 2020 come in, and then saying, oh, we're okay, let's go spend the extra the $5,000 to bring it back and finish the woodlands. It just seems, because I think what we run the risk of is that at the end, let's say we get to September and we can't get it under the current budget, the finishing of the paving that we had scheduled for this year. Then we put, to John's point, a big investment at risk of having to have additional work for it. It sounds like our hands are tied, but if it were my personal expenses, I'd figure out how to do that just to get it done because it made sense long term.
this is Suzanne. I'd like to respond to two pieces. One is the investment issue, and I absolutely concur with both you and John that that binder code is good for a set amount of time. Now it's not just, I think, elapsed time, but it's probably also traffic. So I don't know whether maybe there isn't that much traffic, and so maybe that would extend the binder. But I absolutely agree. We don't want to lose that investment. And so putting that top coat is a high priority. The other thing I want to say is that, so should it come to pass, I guess, as the year progresses and our budget looks like it's not going to support putting the top coat in the woodlands, then what we can do, I mean, if the board so chooses, is put in a request for emergency expenditures. Weave some kind of tail. I mean, this is what we looked at for the Water District last year. So it's a request to spend beyond your authorized budget with the source of revenue, in this case being the fund balance. But you have to go through that process, and the board has to come to that decision where the budget committee can't. The board would say, yes, we want to present it to us and present it to the DRA, and then that would provide access if everybody agreed.
We will know more, I believe, but before the next meeting of the budget committee of where we stand. And if we can get it done, we're definitely going to get it done. We just have to know where we're going to be, because this is before we even knew we were going to get the 60,000 from the, for the emergency equipment. So we just have to make sure that we are careful, because the contingency fund is only a small little amount of money that will be able to cover things. So, but it's definitely not off of our radar for sure. So, okay, any other questions on that? Okay, so let's go to, let's see, where was I? Okay, so street lighting, we're good there.
This is Peter. I just had a question on that. Were we going to look at LED street lighting at some point in time?
No, I think we were. I don't know that we've gotten any quotes, but I will check on that. LED. I will check on that. And Peter, this is Peter Lampesis, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's make sure that he's on the roll call, that he's here.
I just figured out how to unmute. I've been trying to ask questions and I was talking to myself.
Well, welcome.
Minor technical glitches.
We've all experienced it, trust me. All right. So yes, I will find out about that if we're going to pursue at least getting a quote on it.
No, I apologize. The only other thing I was thinking with regard to the town hall, was there were we going to replace a piece of equipment there at one point in time? I don't know if it was a furnace or a generator or something of that nature.
Well, there
On the
was a
town hall?
warrant, right? 2 years, there was a
Warrant,
warrant
yeah.
the year before to replace the furnace. And
Oh, was that being done or were we just keeping maintenance on it?
We got it. We had someone come in and give us to go over the furnace, and they said that we paid another year before doing it, so we chose to. But that was
Okay.
last year's budget, I believe.
Okay.
it was a warrant,
It was,
not,
I mean, last year's warrant.
yes, not 2020, 2019 warrant.
Right, right. So we will.
Okay.
So we're keeping our eyes on that as well. And I think that the money got rolled over, if I'm not mistaken, got rolled over to 2020 in case something did happen to it that we could use because it was a warrant. But I can verify that as well.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Health.
Sanitation.
Oh, did I go past it? Okay, so any questions on the transfer station?
This is Suzanne. I have a sort of a big picture question. So we were woefully under budgeted, as I recall, in 2019. And so I thought we raised our budget. I guess it's the demo hauling. In any event, it looks like we are actually doing less. We are paying less in tipping charges than we might have expected. And so, I mean, that's a good thing. I'm just curious, A, and B, whether we think that's going to change now with more people staying at home and that we'll be generating more waste.
Oh, that's a good point.
And I wonder if they've seen that. Have you heard? Just curious if you've heard from the transfer station folks.
I have not heard if it was based on, more people at home. I have not heard that.
Yeah.
But I'll see if I can get an answer on that.
I tell you, I had read an article about Waste Management, who we don't use, but they were actually considering going back to on the residential side. And because what they found across the country was that their residential charges for trash were between 15 and 25% higher. And obviously the corporate side was down. So they have that both worlds. So I think it's a real possibility. And I don't know how the contract we have is written for them to come back and say, the tipping is a lot higher. Maybe it's not a big deal for a town like Rollinsford, but it is for a lot of towns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll see what, I know that we did have something come across and so let me see if I can get the fee structure. All right.
This is Peter. Were we going to get a piece of equipment that weighed the refuse so we could better gauge the cost?
Yes. The scales? Yes.
The scale, sorry.
They do have the scales, but there's going to be some they're going to try to, because like different furniture weighs different mattresses, and they're going to do some data before they start using it to charge people. So it's in the process of kind of getting, figuring out how they're going to be able to do that and how they're going to, it will affect the rates once we know. It's going to be a little on the guesstimate side just because it would really, I think it would, traffic on the transfer station, especially on the weekends. So they're talking about different options. And so once we have a final conclusion to that of when it's going to start and how it's going to, we'll make sure that you all know about that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so, all right. Any other questions on sanitation? So now we're going to go to Homeland Security with FEMA reimbursements, and they will be reimbursing us on some of the police and fire requirements, and Chief Duchamp is working on that. Ambulance is, it's a contracted fee. It's, I don't know when they get paid, but they have nothing shown yet so far. So, animal control, definitely within reason. Welfare, okay, so you're going to see other. That was an unusual circumstance. It didn't fit in any of the other 3 categories. That is $185, but it was something that we hadn't done before, so that's why it's showing out separately. Welfare isn't bad right now, but we anticipate that it will if this doesn't clean up pretty soon. So we'll stay tuned and give you updates on that. Park Recreation, I'm not sure if all of you know, Camp Raleigh has been canceled for 2020 season due to COVID. We made a decision fairly early, anticipating that what we are now. So we will not be having summer camp this year.
Denise, this is Suzanne. So I know that the summer day camp, I mean, they make every effort to make it revenue neutral.
Yep.
But I seem to recall that the line 248, the recreation director, was not going to be covered by any revenue. So is that, are you still going to hire somebody to sort of plan, or is that 13,000 going to be able to be redirected to some of the other expense lines?
Well, we are going to pursue hiring a rec director, a part-time rec director, who will, as soon as we get a voted on job description, we'll get it posted. And so we do believe that that would be a good thing for us to go forward with, and also to help with process and things like their job descriptions and policies that they haven't got 100% finished. This person will be able to help us with that as well. So we are going to pursue hiring the rec director, and at this point, it will be, I mean, you're right, it didn't have revenue attached to it, and so there's no revenue attached to, we won't be receiving any revenue for camp, so it will come out like what we had it anticipated in the budget. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Senior program probably will happen if in the fall or in the winter months. They had Celia Leopold has been working on that, and she's been doing coffee and a coffee hour at, I believe it was at the library, and they've gotten some senior citizens going in and doing that last year. So we'd like to see that continue, only if it's safe. So we hope that will still continue. And winter rec and basketball, uncertainties on that right now as well. Library is in good shape. All of the other categories.
Hey, Denise, this is Emily. I know the library is closed right now. Does that, I would imagine that's going to affect the numbers as far as their staffing budget goes. Is that right?
Well, I know that they're closed. I mean, the library staff is run by the, what do you call the
trustees? Yeah.
So I would assume that isn't going to be fully spent, or they're going to reroute the money that they didn't pay on salaries to do things at the library. But you're pretty much just the fund that it goes through. They're the control it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So let's see. And then, the others are just, the patriotic, conservation, historical, and all of those are just routine ones that we do every year. We do have, let me see now here. We do have the forestry has been put on, fire forestry has been put on order. The cruiser has as well. And sidewalk repairs is set up to be processed. It's not going to happen until after the paving project. We have, at this point, we haven't got the town hall assessment set up yet. The fire extrication equipment has been purchased, and they do have in-house at this point. I'm not sure if it's in service yet. Sure. The generator, nothing's happened on the generator for the town hall yet, if I recall. That's it on the capital projects. So that's all I have for you. If everyone, I will get you some answers on the questions that you have, and I'll send them out to all. Anything else for me?
Denise, I do. This is Joe. I guess,
Yeah.
So we know with the pandemic, there's going to be an impact on the revenues, like the bus registration and car registration. That's one thing. Are there any other things that people that the board is concerned about that may be something happening down the road that just hasn't hit yet, and we have to also plan for it?
I think one of the things that we're very concerned about is the welfare budget.
Right.
You know, that is one of the major concerns that we have. We're fortunate that we don't have a lot of cases here in town. But we also have our police and fire, who are first responders, so that are a policy in place for the unknown with the police department, that they will get hazard pay for getting in contact with bodily fluids from people they have to put hands on with our police department. So, but we also just found out that the state is also going to give hazard pay to our police and our fire department for, I believe it's 2 months. Yeah. And that will, it will come, I believe, I'm not 100% sure how that, we pay it and they reimburse us, or we send the bill and they give us, and then we pay. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but that just got approved, and I believe Chief Duchamp is working on getting that processed. So they are to be getting some compensation for their hazard pay.
So this is Suzanne. So just from a historical perspective, I remember that the budget for welfare was really quite high when I first came on the board, because we were still in the midst of the recession, and it was I think it was well over 30,000. So not trying to keep us awake nights, but we have gone through some periods where welfare expenditures have been between $30,000 and $40,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, though, that we can use that towards the CARES Act. So that is one of the qualifying reimbursables at this point, anyway. So it's going to help for sure. Okay, that's my deal, I think. I'll get back to you on the answers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Denise. Next item on the agenda is the water and sewer budget review. And I'm guessing, Vern, that you'll walk us through that.
Yes, I will.
I'll put the, it looks like I've got sewer up here first. So we'll do one, then the other, just because that's what we've got. But before we just walk through line by line, do you want to just give some overview?
Well, the information you see here is for the first 4 months of the year. And if you will notice here, the amount expended for the first 4 months is 31% for the sewer portion of the district, which means we're slightly under budget based on a, averaged basis. Let me go through some of the things that seem to stick out. If you look at other professional services, that is, let's see, $2,625 went to Dumais and Ferland for part of the audit. But the next big one was Sin Environmental for $3,846. We had a barrel of muriatic acid spill and it had to be cleaned up, part of the environmental thing. So that's a good chunk of that. The rest of those services, I got to get to the right tab, are services provided by Somersworth Wastewater or outside services for lab testing. Any questions so far?
Can you file an insurance claim on the hazard spill?
I'm not. I don't. I have to investigate that. I'm not sure where insurance picks it up and where it doesn't. Are we ready to continue? All right. The electricity for the plant is at 35%. That's to be expected. Most of it we experience when there's, for the first 4 months of the year, you get bulges just like in your home. There are times you have to run extra pumps and do things like that. The pump station, which is down on Foundry Street, is at 51%. That was obviously under budgeted. License renewal and coursework. This may be a miscategorization. This is intended to be for license upgrades of the operators. Sludge hauling is running very low. We don't have much sludge, apparently. We probably will get more bills for that. Fuel is like everything else. It's like oil. You get a big load and then suddenly the weather warms up. So, you don't see it during the summer months because it's not a heating cost. Lab supplies are running slightly below. Miscellaneous expenses are always those things you can't just predict. We spend $84. The mechanic or subcontract work has nothing in it right now because we're not doing anything where we're hiring a subcontractor to help with the mechanical work. General supplies is sort of a miscellaneous catch-all. It's 25%. The phone, those are the phones that go to the various sites that give us remote information. Capital expense, those two lines are really repetitive of lines 20 and 21. We've already paid one payment of $12,388 this year. And of course, like anything else, you pay it maybe twice a year, so it gets a little lumpy, but we're at 47%, but that will even out over the year. The proportional share of administrative costs is quite small because things are running very smoothly and very efficiently. Personnel costs, that portion which is attributable to sewer or wastewater, is running a little about on track to where it belongs. Are there any questions so far?
Yes, I had a question about what is included.
Who's speaking? I don't know who's speaking.
This is Angela Matthews.
Okay.
I had a question about what was included in the pro rata administration. What is that? I think it's what, 6227. What's included in those expenses, please?
You're talking about line 22?
Line 22, exactly.
All right, let me give you some examples. Payroll expense, all the costs for doing the payroll are in here. Hafner's Oil had to come in and repair the boiler because we had a closed door and the thing wasn't getting enough oxygen and it sooted all up, and we had to fix that. We got UniFirst here, which is uniforms. We've got the FICA expense for admin. I'm looking to see if there's any other. There's a state of New Hampshire for a background check. We have internet costs, creative technology when we bought masks. Martel Roberge, that was the rental, partially. Then most of it's FICA, wages, admin. There's some Home Depot costs. I'm looking to see if there's anything unusual in here. Primex, this is for life and STD, which does not stand for what you think it is. It's for short-term disability. The rest of it is like postage to send out the bills, staples for office supplies, postage again, UniFirst, WB Mason office supplies, and so on. That's really what it is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Vern, this is Suzanne. I like the
I'm sorry.
format. It looks
Wait. Who?
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Hi, Suzanne.
Hello, Vern. So I like the format. I like the format of the report. I have a question. Is there any meaning to the lines between 7 and 8 that are highlighted?
Meetings between
What does
7.
it mean? What does it mean? What is the significance?
Those are the professional services.
Oh, last year, the report was made so that certain things were highlighted, and we decided that wasn't necessary. We were perfectly capable of explaining what that detail was, and we do, like other professional services.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you just said. Are those lines you've got?
Last year, the person who prepared this wanted to point out certain things in other professional services. I don't know why it was important to show how much we paid for porta potty. Wright Pierce had sent some bills in last year, so we had to sort of break out the cost. That was part of the asset management program, and it sort of just washed out and disappeared. There's going to be there's a standard study we do each summer for the river, and we have to pay about $3,800 for it. That would go into this area.
Can I
I
say
don't know why it had to be broken out.
Vern, I think when I look at this, the shaded rows that don't have numbers add up to the total of other professional services.
Correct.
For me, it looks like it's just a breakout of what those other professional services are.
Right. Thank you. I see now.
Specific categories, and it's like, why do we need to know how much we spend on the porta potty for Porter Wells? I don't understand why that was necessary, but okay.
It's a subset. I get it.
Commissioner Crozier, this is Angela Matthews again. I did have one other question for you about the overall budget. This is the 2019 budget, is that not correct? Because of the virus and the postponement of the annual meeting and the adoption of a new budget, this is a continuation of a budget from a prior year. Is that line by line? Is this what had been approved by the voters in March of 2019? I just wanted to get clarification on that.
Right. If you look up 3213, it says that the budget continues until the next budget is approved. And unfortunately, it's one situation where it happened much longer than we expected.
Certainly. Yes. Thank you. That was helpful.
Any more questions on the sewer budget? I'll switch it over to water if not.
Well, I have this is Denise. I have a question. Are you not at all concerned that your fuel is at 220% spent and your other professional services are 263% spent?
Well, as I said before, if we go down to other professional services, there were some lumpy things that happened. Let me get to it. Other professional services. Like, for instance, South Berwick Sewer, we got a large bill over $1,000 for sludge hauling, and then suddenly it just went away. Well, it didn't go away. It just wasn't as bad. City of Somersworth, we spent $551.50 on lab services. Now they're doing tests on our wastewater system. Again, we got another one on February 11th for $1,470, and it just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. DeMay and Ferland, we've got the same thing the town does. That is, we pay part of it, then they do the next section, we pay part of it. And, you know, it just, South Berwick Sewer.
I'm more concerned about the fuel LP for new building. I mean, you still are going to have some heating time at the end of the year.
Well, it's just the same as the town buildings in that you experience more expense at the beginning of the year while it's still cold, and then summer comes along and you don't use the heat, and then hopefully we'll have a warm all the way through October, and then it starts all over again. It's just like at your house.
Yes,
I get that, Vern, but you're 220% overspent.
Right now.
Yes, bad estimate.
Okay, so your intention is to increase this next year then, and do your budget, I would hope.
We're going to adjust it based on experience because now we'll have more experience.
Vern, this is Suzanne. So knowing that you're clearly going to have an overrun on the, the fuel line and possibly also on the professional services, do you have a rebudgeting process? I mean, will you come back to us and say, like next quarter, well, we've reallocated money from line whatever into the fuel line?
Well,
is that something you anticipate doing?
We anticipate that some items will be over budgeted. Like, for instance, maintenance and repairs plant is only at 3%, and the budget was $16,500. So we anticipated we will move it around just like the town does and the school does. They move it around, which is permitted under RSA 13.
Right. I'm not questioning that. It's just presentation. I know that and maybe the town doesn't do it anymore, but the town used to actually, in the report, show the rebudgeting because the town has many more lines. And so,
well, yes, I agree with you. But if you look at this thing, the budget dollars are the approved budget dollars. It's the same as the town and the school. And if you go deficit, well, you go deficit in a particular line item. But if your overall budget that the voters approved is under budget or at budget, you're okay.
Yeah, I understand, Vern. So that wasn't my point, but that's okay. We can go on.
If we're looking for next year, well, next year's already proposed, so we really can't change next year because it's already sort of the book is closed on that.
Vern, I had one more question, and that is circling back to Denise's question about chemical cleanup. Having raised that issue, do you imagine that the commissioners will check into the potential insurance coverage for that $3,800 expense?
We will be in touch with Primex regarding that matter, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But we don't know if all the costs have come in yet.
And that was Angela Matthews again.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to the water budget here.
Okay, I'm ready. Overall, we're at 28% of our budget after 4 months. So ordinarily we'd be at 33. So we're in pretty good shape. Why don't I go down through this? Again, maintenance and repairs distribution system was budgeted at $30,000. That's last year's authorized budget. And we've so far spent about $17,000. But I expect there's going to be a lot of increase in that because we had a water leak on South Street probably the third time that one particular spot has decided to leak, and I don't know why. And then we had to do some repaving on a water leak at the bottom of Front and South Street because it's, it eroded underneath. So that line item will probably go up. Arsenic media, we budget it for $1, but we don't know when it's going to have to be replaced, but we have to have the line item in place for it. Chemicals, the state asked the district to please asked the district to please have at least a 30-day supply of chemicals on hand in case there's a disruption in the chemical supply. It turns out that there's a problem with sodium hydroxide and chlorine. They've got too much chlorine and not enough sodium hydroxide, which is a buffering agent. But we bought enough to keep us going for a minimum of 30 days. Now we get into other professional services. It's much the same. As if I just can, I got to scroll down to my capital. No. Other professional services. DeMay and Ferland, of course, you have to split the audit between the two. So it was about $5,200. Then it's waste collection, creative technology, which are the masks. I'm not sure. NHPWM. I don't know what that is. Again, half the furnace repair. New Hampshire Water Association, and it's dig safe. You have to, every time somebody says, I think I'm going to dig, and it's anywhere near anything that we might have, they have to come in. We had a problem with our fence. Someone with a plow, and I won't name names, hit the fence post where the gate closes, and that's going to be coming in as a repair and maintenance for the plant, not for water. But DigSafe had to come down and say, yes, this post you have in the ground is not in danger of causing any problems. It's the way it is with DigSafe. Again, the other professional services, if you see the gray area, again, that totals into the top, which is the total of it. Those lines, again, a porta potty, I don't know why it's in water. It was in sewer too. It's only one porta potty that I know of. The same with Wright Pierce and other things, backflow preventers. It's just I guess a pointless detail. Electricity for the tower. The tower doesn't use much electricity. It's mostly for sensing how full it is. Pine Street, Porter Well, we're not running it very much because of some murkiness in the water, so that's only about $2,000. General John Sullivan, which is our main producer, is at 31%, but that's because it's carrying the burden of pumping water to the district. It may be under budgeted, but that's the situation until we can figure out what we're going to do about Willie Street, if that clears up the problem with Porter Wells. Porter Wells is much more demanding of electricity, by the way, than General John Sullivan. General John Sullivan is only 35 feet deep and pumps out a huge amount of water, but it's not very deep. And the one at Porter Wells is almost over 500 feet deep, so that uses a lot more electricity. So if you take Porter Wells off and don't use it all that much, you save there, but then you have to use General John Sullivan. License renewals and coastwork. This has a miscategorization in it. It should be 367. The phones that go to the tower, we haven't been able to break that out yet. Again, we have the same problem with fuel, gas, propane, DF Richard. The majority of it is in the first 3 to 4 months of the year, and then it just peters away because it's just heat. We don't really run any equipment on propane. It's just for heat. Lab supplies is the same. We have to do a lot more testing. They really want to do a lot more testing on the water. And, that's part of the investigation about the murky water on Willie Street. Lab services, again, this is the same thing. We send out our water to be tested for various things, mostly E. coli, which nobody wants. And so far, it hasn't been that expensive. We're lucky. We look at general supplies. This is the miscellaneous stuff of life. And, if somebody wants it, I can give you some examples. Okay, we'll move on. Miscellaneous expenses. Again, this is something that doesn't fall in any other category. Line 17, principal expense. That is a payment through Northway Bank that used to be part of the USDA. It's now paid quarterly. You can see it's at 56%, but that evens out over the year. What you get are lumpy payments at the beginning, and then it just smooths out. By, late May, early June, that percentage will be much smaller. Then there's the interest, of course, that goes with it. And the ProShare Administrative is simply a sort of a half of the cost that you saw in sewer, but it also shows up here. And then personnel is the same. It tracks pretty close to budget. Any questions? Anybody want any details on any of these line items?
I had a question that is not about the.
Who's speaking?
Angela, this is,
okay.
I'm sorry. Angela speaking. Commissioner Crozier, I had a question that is not about the expense side of the operating budget, but rather the income side. And I am curious about the development on Scarlet Lane, and if that is going to be part of the water district, and if that's the case, Scarlet Lane at the end of Silver
Victoria
Street.
Point.
Yes, there's
Yes.
Scarlet Lane is on the sign there. Anyway,
Okay.
Victoria Point, is that joining the water district, and what kind of revenues will be generated from the units? Are there 6 units going in there? Are there 10? How many units are going in, and what will that generate?
I heard there were 7 units, or actually 6 new ones, and the existing building was the 7th. So there's going to have to be a connection fee at that price, whatever it is, $3,000, I believe. And then they're going to pay $93 a quarter, up to $15,000, just like everyone else.
Okay. And so how will that be for the general operating budget for the water side, or will that be income that is a capital item? How does that money get dispersed across the budget?
It's straight income, just like the bill you pay.
Okay.
They don't sewer.
So potentially that's a potential $18,000. Is that coming this year?
I don't know when he will approach the developer, Mike Brigham, when he will approach the district about permits to enter.
Okay.
At this point, he can't have water. We know he has adequate access, but until he approaches us and petitions or applies for a permit to enter, we don't know.
It could conceivably be 2020 or maybe even 2021.
Again, we don't know.
Okay.
He doesn't tell us when he's going to start finishing it up and selling off.
I see. Well, he'll have to have water for that, won't he? Thank you.
I would think. Well, he won't get an occupancy permit without water.
Hey, Vern, this is Emily Leach. I have a question. Last year or last budget season, you talked about raising the rates, and I'm wondering if you have any information on when they might go up and by how much.
Well, we have discussed doing consumption-based billing, but with this COVID-19 and everybody sort of stay on hold, we've been sort of backed off on that.
Okay.
As things now stands, the rates are the same.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I have one other question, which is whether you have any information about the work on Willie Street happening, when that might be, if you have plans or anything.
Oh, we have plans, but COVID-19 and the governor rule this. We don't.
I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt because Brianna's having a connection issue and she's not able to hear and she's frozen. So,
We can wait.
Brianna, you look unfrozen now. Brianna, are you okay?
Yeah, she's back.
Yeah, I'm unfrozen now. I just missed.
Hey, Brianna, there's a kid behind you about to attack you.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's
My
all right.
husband's out, so she has to stay up. But
That's okay.
I don't know. Did anybody else freeze, or was it just me?
It was just you, of course.
Okay. So I just missed when Angela was after you said that the new apartments are going to be straight income. That's the last thing I heard.
Well, they're not apartments. They're buildings.
They're
They're
units.
homes. Yes, they will be straight income. They'll have an entrance fee, and then they'll pay their quarterly amount.
Okay.
And Bree, I think that this is recorded, so
It definitely.
you can probably catch up if there was.
Oh yeah, it is being recorded.
Okay. Yeah, I think I only missed a few minutes. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Bree, for your sake, I was asking Vern about the work on Willie Street and what was happening with that. So, yes, you still have plans to do it, and
Wait.
are unsure.
We have a warrant article to fund it. Yes, we do.
Right.
But
there are,
God knows when we're going to finally get a decision on it.
okay, and that is because the state is putting a hold on
Yes.
projects like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, just a reminder, if you do get information, the school board would love to know.
Well, if if we could have more than 10 people meet at once in public, the people who do the trenchless thing would love to do a presentation to show you how it's done, answer all of your questions, and, enlighten you. That's what they want to do.
Well, we look forward to when that can all happen for a number of reasons.
I well understand.
Yes. Thank you.
Fern, this is Suzanne. They
Yes,
can't use
Suzanne.
technology to do a public sort of presentation on the internet that people can just watch?
Right. Here's the problem. If you do a presentation and then you are delayed, 6 weeks, everybody forgets the details. You want to have your presentation as proximal to the annual meeting as you realistically can, so that everybody knows, okay, these are the issues, and this is how it's done, and this is how it will impact me, and so forth.
Thank you.
Okay. Got it. So this is Emily again. So the issue isn't getting the presentation close to when you do the work. The issue is getting the presentation close to the annual meeting of the Water and Sewer District.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
I mean, we could do it after the annual meeting if it's approved, and then we could say, all right, here's your presentation. This is what's going to happen. If there's a huge hue and cry about doing it, well, we'll back off. But for now, that seems to be the best way to do it. I mean, Ted Berry is anxious to do a presentation, but they don't want to do it and then say, well, no, wait a minute. I had a question that I should have asked 6 weeks ago, and I didn't get to ask it. Sort of like, okay.
Got it.
This
That
is
makes
probably a question that everybody else knows the answer to, but Vern, is there any chance of doing the annual meeting virtually, or is that?
No. We've talked with our attorney, and unfortunately, the district works on the traditional town meeting approach, which means there's no ballot of it. It's not, I think it's Henniker did theirs on drive-by, but they're a RSA 669, the official ballot town. Well, the district isn't an official ballot district, so we have to have you present. You have to be checked in, your identity verified. There has to be a discussion, sort of like a deliberative session. Then there has to be a vote with people present. And it's like, oh my God, how are we going to pull this off? And
Okay.
I haven't come up with an answer yet. I don't know how it could be done.
I think most of the country is wondering that. So thanks.
Well, I am aware that the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State are having conversations about how best to handle these lingering issues with districts and towns that have not been able to vote or have their annual meeting, and that they are looking for a solution and working with the governor for an executive order on this. And I don't know what will happen. I've sat in on 2 multi-hour conference calls with the Secretary of State's office, and that is the latest update that I am aware of. The supervisors have been involved in the conversation.
I reviewed the paper that they put out, and they seem to be focusing mostly on the September 8th election for state offices and the November 8th election for president. They didn't seem to have too many details about local and municipal elections and the like.
That is correct. On those calls, they did not, but they are reviewing the questions that came forth from those calls. So this is Angela again, repeatedly, sorry. I just want to assure everyone on this call that there is a concern about this lingering absence of democratic process. So it's being addressed in discussions.
Well, if there's a solution, I want to hear it.
Great.
I haven't, our attorney and the Secretary of State and the Department of Justice hasn't given us any guidance on this matter, so we go with what we know.
Got it. Okay. Any more questions for Vern on the water and sewer expenditures for the first four months? Okay. Hearing none. We can move on. And Emily Leach, you are on.
Great, thank you. So unfortunately, our timing of our meetings is off a little bit. Our school board meeting is tomorrow night. So this budget that I've given to you doesn't quite reflect all of Q3. It was approved at our April meeting, which was the second Thursday of April. So it is a little stale at this point. We'll be looking at a new budget tomorrow. I think the main thing that you're going to see in this budget is that's different from the last one you saw is that there's an increase in special ed, and that is based on need in the community. So that's really all I can say about that. And, the remaining funds right now include encumbrances for everything that we can encumber at this point. That stands at 319,000 around, but we can definitely expect that number to change. One other thing that's not reflected in this budget because it hadn't quite come to fruition yet is, as you might expect, we're going to see some savings due to the fact that the students are not in the building and are being educated while they're at home. So a lot of that is due to transportation and our lack of need for substitutes. So again, that's not reflected in this budget in front of you. It's something that we will talk about tomorrow night and in the budget that we will address tomorrow night. But I just wanted to put that out there and let everybody know. We also will be discussing some items in our meeting tomorrow night, some projects and equipment that we may choose to allocate some resources to in light of that. So I'm happy to go through line by line. I'm not sure whether that's valuable to anyone. We don't usually do that because this is so long. But if maybe it's better to just answer questions if anyone has questions.
I have a question, Emily. If for some reason, and this is going pretty far ahead and maybe hasn't even thought about yet, but if for some reason we're not able to go back into schools in the fall, do you think that we will get a discount on what we pay to Marshwood, or will we still pay the same for tuition, or is that been considered?
That is a great question. We haven't discussed that as a board, but I'll definitely bring it up at tomorrow night's meeting. We haven't quite, we've brought up the topic that that there's a chance that fall, may be delayed going back to the building. But it's so far in advance right now that we really haven't made any sort of plans for that yet. But it's a good point that you make, and I'll definitely get some information from the
Vern
board.
Crozier, I have a question.
Yeah,
Aren't they doing distance learning at Marshwood too?
they are doing distance learning at Marshwood too.
Okay, so your teachers are being paid to do, the elementary school teachers are doing distance learning, is that correct? And so they're
They
being paid. The real savings is the kids aren't beating up the school building.
Yeah, right.
Really, that's it. Well, I suspect
Yeah.
Marshwood is probably in the same position. So I don't think you're going to get much of a discount.
That's a good point that you make for sure. And, our tuition amount is based on a percentage of the students population that we have. But it's definitely, if their expenditures are down, then there's potential that maybe, that number would look different.
Yeah, this is Suzanne. I mean, most of the expenses for school district are in salaries and the associated, fringe benefit and the like. But, there would be some percentage in infrastructure that's not being used in that building. So it is a really good question about what Marshwood may, it's a request that you could make of Marshwood. I mean, how are they going to adjust for the fact that they're not paying to heat the building quite the same way, or,
right.
All of those infrastructure related expenses in particular.
I have a question on that. Are you not placing yourself in the position of some taxpayers in town saying, if you want a discount from Marshwood, shouldn't there be a discount for RGS as well, under the same theory?
Well, I mean, you could also say that any unexpended funds go back to the fund balance in the long run that go to our town, as opposed to any unexpended funds from Marshwood that, we end up contributing to go back to the towns of South Berwick and Elliott, not our town. So I can, there's a little difference there.
It's not really the same thing, Vern.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is. The expenses that the taxpayers have funded are going to be reduced. So shouldn't there be an adjustment?
Well, there would likely be an adjustment in the fact that we give back to the fund balance, right?
And Emily, this is Angela, and I had a question about that because I'm looking at, can you just scoot down to the bottom line, the grand totals there? If I'm understanding this correctly, you're anticipating about 1.8 million in additional expenses in the remaining portion of the year through June 30.
No.
I'm talking to Emily. I'm asking you a question, Emily.
Sorry.
I'm not
Thank you.
sure what you're looking at, Angela. I'm sorry.
I'm looking at your grand total line on the last page.
Encumbrance.
Yes, the encumbrance, and then the last column over, what does that
I hate that I can't
319,000
see.
represent?
The 319,000 represents remaining funds in the budget.
Okay, that's what I'm asking you about, and which I think is part of this larger conversation that's happening. It looks right now like you're projecting through the end of the year $319,000, and tomorrow night that will be discussed in terms of what projects you might be planning to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not going to ask you what you anticipate of that might return to town. But are those the dollars you're talking about here?
Those are the dollars I'm talking about here. And I don't, last year we were able to give a significant amount of funds back to the town at the end of the year. I don't know, it kind of all depends on what we determine tomorrow night. We do have some projects outstanding that we would, that we'll consider at tomorrow night's meeting. Also some equipment and supplies that we may decide to put some of those dollars towards. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you on whether or how much that give back would be for this year. But after tomorrow night's meeting, I would imagine that we'll have a better idea of that.
That certainly comes to the question that I think I understand what your previous answer is exactly what you just shared, that you can't say now what that amount will be, but whatever it is beyond what expenses you have in the final quarter of the year, that will return to the town, not to South Berwick or Elliott, but to Rollinsford.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is Joe. I do have a question. Or maybe it becomes a discussion point for tomorrow's meeting. But if I think of this school district as a business and where we are right now, the services have been drastically reduced. The teachers are doing, remote learning. That all makes sense. But there's a number of things in here that are they still happening, like nurses services, speech services, guidance services. And I guess my question is, just like if we're a business and you had, like C&J Bus had to lay off 75 people, I'm sure he applied as part of that program to get funds from the various things being offered in order to still pay those people. But I guess these other services that are here and are not really being utilized, have we looked into being part of it as if it were a company? And what are those people doing now? There's no library, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I guess this is kind of a two-part question. The first part I will say is that these are our employees and are paid and benefits are offered on a yearly contract basis, and they're union employees. So it definitely wouldn't work, the same as a private non-unionized organization. And then the second part of that, I would say, is that, for example, our library services employee right now also provides a lot of technology. It's not, the traditional sense of being the librarian that's reshelving books and helping kids with physical books. There's a lot of more like technology piece of her job. So while they're not in the school necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not getting services from those individuals. So art may not seem like it's possible online, but it is. And those kind of more specialized classes those teachers and staff members are doing the work to try and provide those services online, which in many cases is significantly more challenging than it would be if they were in the building. So, I don't know if that addresses.
I can see that, but I guess just like Denise talked about money from the CARES Act for the municipal side, is there a similar program for things like school districts? I don't know if there is or not. I'm just trying to think about a little bit.
I don't know either, and that's definitely something. We can find out that information tomorrow night at the meeting. I'll ask about that. I haven't heard of anything for school systems, but it's certainly worth finding out.
And I guess, does Bob usually go, the superintendent?
Yeah, he'll be at the meeting. Yeah,
I mean, he'll know. All right, thanks.
For sure. Yeah.
Emily, this is Charlie George. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Could you clarify the transportation items? I know we're under contract, but there really isn't any transportation going on here. And it seems to me like we should have some sort of recourse. I know contracts are contract, but they're not spending money for fuel. They're not spending money on maintenance. There's got to be some recourse there for us that would be worthwhile.
There will be savings. It's not reflected in this budget because, again, this is a month old now. We will be seeing some savings reflected in this coming budget. So there will be savings there. I will also say that one of the things that First Student is doing is for our free and reduced lunch program. The students that are provided those services at the school are still in need of those services. And
Sure.
the fact that they're not at the school makes that difficult to provide. So First Student is actually setting up buses at the town hall, and I think maybe one other place, so that families can go and get some meals provided to them as they would through that program at the school. So that's one service that they're providing to us that is pretty great. So
Yeah, that's great.
mhm.
Well, thank
Emily,
you.
this is Suzanne. Are they
Yeah.
also providing Wi-Fi hotspots? Did I hear that somewhere?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Maybe I was talking to, maybe I'm totally wrong. So, but I thought I'd heard that. Perhaps
I
not.
did too.
Suzanne, it's Joe. I think in Summersworth, I had heard that going on. For some areas,
Okay.
it didn't have, for some locations, the people
Okay.
didn't have internet access at home. They did that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but that would be amazing too if they're providing that service.
Okay, do we have any more questions on the school district for Emily? Okay, I'm hearing none. Do we have any other business that anybody would like to bring up at this time? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A second?
I second the motion. Charlie George.
And I don't think we all need to vote unless anybody objects. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Thank you, John. Good meeting.
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Night.
Right. How do I get out of that?